Hello students, this is your science teacher Shivangi Anand, and today we are going to discuss the chapter number 1 of your NCERT book, that is crop production and management. And I always say that whenever you are to do any topic, any chapter, firstly you have to understand the meaning of the chapter. So there are 3 words in this chapter: crop, production and management. So what does crop means? Crop means similar plants grown on a piece of land, which means that same kinds of plants which are grown on a piece of land, that is known as crop. For example, you eat roti, food that is made up of wheat that is grown on a piece of land. So wheat, similar kind of crop, similar kind of plants that are grown on a piece of land is known as crop. Production means to produce. Then comes management. Management means to store. So in the management we will see how, when the crops are formed, how do we store them? How do we protect them from various insects and weeds around? So this is all about this chapter, right? So next topic is, we know that, yes students, we know that whenever we want to grow the crop on a land, we want the land to be fertile, which means that we want that land should contain nutrients which will enhance the production of the crop. So for enhancing the production of the crop, we need two things, that are fertilizers and manure. So fertilizers and manure, both of these are the substances which increase the nutrient content of our piece of land. But there is a difference between them. Fertilizers, they are not natural, they are man-made. Manure, it is natural. Fertilizers, they are made in factories. And manure, it is prepared in fields by decomposition of plant waste, animal waste. So here a new word has come, which means decomposition. Decomposition means to break down. So you must have seen cow dung lying here, there and there. Cow dung is the best example of manure. Cow dung, right? Yes students, fertilizers, they are inorganic salt, and manure is an organic component, right? In between the video, if you want to write down any stuff, you can pause the video and you can rewind it as many times as you want. So coming back to the topic, fertilizers. Fertilizers are very much rich in 3 things: nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So in chemistry specifically, whenever we have the name of the element, we have a symbol associated with that element. So here N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus. These all are the elements which are needed for the soil in order to increase its fertility. K stands for potassium. So you can see that in nitrogen, N, first letter starts from N and the symbol is N. In phosphorus, the name starts from P and the symbol is P. But in potassium, the name starts from P but the symbol is K. So this you need to remember even for your higher studies. But manure, it is comparatively less rich. Comparatively less rich in NPK. So whenever we will say NPK, it means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. What are these? These all are the nutrients. These all are nutrients. Nutrients that are needed for the soil to grow a good quality of crops. And the last difference is that fertilizers, they do not provide humus content to the soil. And manure, it provides lots of humus content to the soil. So what is humus content? Humus word has come from human word. Humus means human. Human are life and life means organic. Here, let me write it here. The word humus has come from word human. Humans, we know that in humans there is life. Human meaning life and life means organic. And in the third point, we have mentioned that fertilizers are inorganic and manure is organic. So manure is organic, that is why it has lots of humus content in it, right? Because it is made up of from the living organisms like plants. They also have life. We have studied in the lower classes that plants do possess life in them. Then animal waste, human waste, all of these are the living components. So that is why the living component in manure is specifically high, and the living component in fertilizers is not so high. Why? Because it is not made up of the living matter. It has come from the factories which have no life in them. No doubt the good point is that they are rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, but they have less amount of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Right? So what question can come? What kind of question can come regarding this? Up and until now, we have done what are fertilizers and what are manure. Both of them are required. Both of them are the substances which increase the fertility of the land in order to grow good quality of crops. But there is a difference between them, and in the difference you will write these points. Right? Fertilizers, they are man-made. Manure, it is natural. Fertilizers are made in factories. Manure is prepared in the field. Fertilizers, they are inorganic salt, but manure, it is organic salt. Fertilizers, they are rich in NPK, and manure, it is less rich in NPK. And fertilizers, they do not have humus content, but manure, it contains lots of humus content. Right? After doing this, we will discuss out of fertilizers and manure, which is more good, which is better in improving the quality of the land. Meanwhile, you can think, let me erase it. Yes, students. So we know that comparison, manure is better. Manure is better than fertilizers. Why it is better? What are the advantages of manure? The first point is that manure, it improves the texture of the soil. Manure, it improves the texture of the soil. We know that there are different kind of textures of the soil. There are black soil, red soil. There are different qualities of the soil which are grown on the different kind of land depending on the area, right? So what manure does? Manure improves the texture of the soil. Second thing is that it increases the water holding capacity. Manure, it increases the water holding capacity. We know that no life is possible without water, and even the crops that we are growing contains life in them. So the more water, the more the life. So manure, it increases the water holding capacity of the soil, which means that manure, whenever we will put the manure in the land, that soil will be able to hold the water in it more, and that is why the crops, they will get more amount of water, and more amount of water and sunlight will help us to grow the plants in a better condition. So improves the texture, improves the water holding capacity. And what are the other advantages of manure? Yes, other advantages are that it increases the friendly microorganisms in the soil. Microorganisms, the short form of microorganisms is microbes. We know that what are microorganisms? Micro means like a very, very, very small, that cannot be seen with the naked eye. We need microorganisms, special devices to look at these organisms. Organisms means life. So these are the microorganisms, are the very, very tiny particles, organisms, living organisms that are needed to, that also increase the nutrient content in the soil. For example, you might have seen that whenever there is a bread that is outdated bread, that has gone past its expiry date, so there are green type of fungi that is grown on the bread, and that fungi, that is known as microorganisms, because it is very, very micro. It cannot be seen with the naked eye in a small quantity. We need devices in order to study their structure. So these are the microorganisms that the soil needs in order to grow crops in them. So what manure does? Manure increases the number of the friendly microorganisms in the soil. Next advantage of manure over fertilizer is that it makes the soil more porous. Porous means, the word porous has come from pores. Pores means the holes. So the soil, there are holes in it, and through the holes the exchange of gases takes place all the time. Even when we are not noticing, the land is there, the crops are growing. So students, we were doing about the advantages of manure over fertilizers. One of the advantages that I was telling you was that manure makes soil porous. So porous means that there are small holes or pores in the soil. If there are large number of the, if we will take out a microscope and we will look at the soil, there are holes in it. What is the work of these holes? There are so many gases that the soil needs inside it in order to grow the crops, and after growing the crop, there is the gases that are produced inside, they go outside via these holes. So basically the gases come in and go out with the help of these holes or pores. So the soil has to be more porous. The more the pores are there, the more easily the gases can be exchanged. So this exchange of gases, it takes place through the pores, and the manure, it makes the soil more porous so that the exchange of gases can take place easily. So this is also the advantage of manure over fertilizers. Fertilizers, they do not make the soil porous, but manure, it makes the soil porous. So these were the advantages of manure over fertilizers. So what are the questions about today's topic that can come to you, that can be asked to you? Question number 1, what is fertilizers? What are fertilizers? Second question, what is manure? When we did about the difference between the fertilizer and manure, whatever points that were coming under the fertilizer heading, you can write it as in the answer of what are fertilizer, and the topics that were coming under the heading of manure, the points that were coming under the heading of the manure, that can be written in the form of the answer, what is manure, right? And the third question that can be asked to you, that is difference between fertilizers and manure, right? And that we did it, the difference between fertilizer and manure. Fertilizers, they are grown in factories, they are inorganic, and manure, that is grown in the fields, that is organic and that is natural. Fertilizers, they are rich in NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Manure, that is less rich in NPK. Fertilizers, they do not provide humus content to the soil, but manure, it provides humus content to the soil. And the fourth question that can be asked to you is, what are the various advantages of manure? And that we did that manure, it increases the water holding capacity of the soil. The more the water, the best crop can be grown. Where there is water, remember, where there is water, there is life. So manure increases the water holding capacity, number 1. Second, what was it? It improves the texture of the soil, right? The structure of the soil. That is, it makes the soil more porous, so that the exchange of gases can take place easily, which is good for the crop production. Then, manure increases the friendly microorganisms, microbes in the soil. Friendly means all the microorganisms which will help in the production of the crop in a better way. So this was all about fertilizer and manure today. Yes, you need to revise it on your own at your homes. Thank you.